It's really good for all times of the year, but especially in the 3 weeks and the 9 days. I don't want to talk about the sin shabai of lashon hara or rechilus or anything like that. We'll put that on the side. Of course, that's true, and we have to be very nizar. I just want to reflect on a concept of being trustworthy, right? And it's something which we all need to work on, and I think it's a really huge inyan. We're all carriers. Every person is a carrier of information. And what happens is, when information is carried from one person to the other, it feels like we're not doing anything wrong per se, but a lot of the things that we repeat, or that we say, or that we repeat from other people, it's carrying things that are just not trustworthy. So I think we all have to go ahead and try to think to ourselves, when we say something, right, how emistic is it? Like how much trust can people have in what we say? Because if you get really sensitive about it, you realize that a huge amount of stuff that we say, like stuff about anybody and almost anything, is not necessarily that we would swear that it's true. It's like, oh, I heard this, I heard that, I heard this, I heard that, and then we repeat it, it gets repeated as fact. And I'm becoming very sensitive to that because I see the danger. I'll give you an example. We went to a hotel for a celebration, for a Shabbos, for Shabbaton, and I heard a bunch of people talking. And one person was saying, you know, this guy does not know how to run a hotel, right? If I was, he was giving advice, right? If I was running the hotel, I would change this and I would close that. And he knew everything to do, and that was his opinion, because this guy doesn't know how to run the hotel. Another guy said, you know, this guy is so cheap. If you would put money in, this place can be making much more money. Everybody knew exactly what this person should do, was judging this guy who they don't know, they never met, about his business and how to act, right? And I was amazed. I was like, none of you think that maybe he just got it right? So I asked them, and I don't want to challenge, but I just wanted to ask, is he making $5 million in this hotel? Do you know how much he's making? They're like, no, we don't know. Like, is he losing $5 million in this hotel? Like, we don't know. How much is the overhead to run the hotel? We don't know. How much money comes in? We don't know. Like, you know nothing, but you know that what he's doing wrong. You know he's cheap, and he was always cheap, and if he was smart, and you know everything about a guy, right? And I was just thinking about it because it bothered me, not because it's lashon hara per se, and the rechila. These are people who are, we want to be adults, right? We want to be aren't l'chamenshim. We want to be like trustworthy people who speak truth. And the whole conversation happened. There was not any emes about anything. It's like just stam in the lufterein. But what happens is it can be very damaging because another guy's listening and he hears it. This guy is he's a cheap guy, right? And then it ends up being 10 people later, he's already known to be a cheapskate, and there's already a whole rumor about the guy, and then it comes to a shidduch for his kids, and they're like, better to stay away. Meanwhile, the guy could be a genius. He's worth $100 million. He's not cheap at all. He's very smart. He does everything, mamish, the most, maximum, best for the people who he cares about. Oh, one person was saying, he obviously doesn't care about people. He didn't put in enough. Maybe he's just doing great. Maybe he's losing money. And he's putting in out of his pocket because he cares about people. Like, how do you really know? But it comes out, for shidduchim, he's a cheapskate. You could take a person, his whole life could be one way, and all of a sudden a rumor can come out the other way. Right? We had over here 3 different parents that told me, from different communities, that people told them that they needed my help, and they didn't come to me because they heard Avi charges a lot of money. Right? It's not enough of a rumor that I charge money. No, the rumor has to be I charge a lot of money. I don't charge any money. Right? Like I said from the Kotzker Rebbe, that the dafka, the biggest mile of somebody is what they used against them, right? Korach came, and what did he say about Moshe Rabbeinu? Madua tisnasu al kam. Like he accused him of being an egomaniac. The Torah is made. There was nobody as, like, that was his thing, anivus. So dafka in that midah, it goes the other way, right? So it's not enough to say that I charge when I don't. No, I charge a lot of money. So let's understand. How many carriers were there from the fact, from speaking to me, because it must have been someone who knew me, till that person? So let's say there were 10 carriers of information. Each carrier took something, right, like play the game telephone, and by the time you finish, it's totally different. Nobody is evil. Nobody lied. Nobody said, oh, he doesn't charge money, and told the next person, Avi charges a lot of money. That's not what happened here. Everybody just carried the disease. That started off with the information that Avi doesn't charge any money, and the next person overheard something, and the next person overheard something. Everybody was carrying information and would say, what am I doing wrong? But look at the end, what happened. That it must be more than 3 people. These are 3 just that I happen to hear of. And it's not pshat that they went to somebody else. It's not like they didn't go to NYU hospital, they went to Columbia. They were suffering in pain for months, unimaginable pain, and they didn't come for advice because they didn't think they could afford me. So who's responsible for that? Each person who took information and repeated it, right, as it got more and more twisted and warped, is responsible for that family suffering, and yet nobody would think that they are. Right, so I'm very sensitive to things that come out of our mouths to just think, is it true? Right, like people talk, just say, are you listening to what you're saying? Do you know if it's true? And here's what happens, it destroys shidduchim. I got a shidduch 5 years ago that was read to me, and on the resume was a Rav that I know. Okay, so the next day, I got a call from this Rav. So I knew that they're calling because that obviously that future Machatan person, he's friendly with this Rav who I knew was Menegeh the Shidduch. So I picked up the phone and he tells me, when can you come by and schmooze? So I figured it's about the Shidduch. I went into his office, I sat down, Shalom Aleichem, I said, okay, which rumor did you hear? So he says, what do you mean? I said, currently there are 5 rumors about me. So he was like, which one? I said, there's a rumor that I don't talk to my father. Well, he's in a coma for a year and a half. But the rumor was even before that. The rumor was before that. I don't get along with my father. So for shidduch, you get shidduch mashadach with a guy and he doesn't talk to his father. So nothing, mamish, there was a shidduch, there was a rumor that I have no money. Okay, I'm not going to show you my tax returns, but that was news to me. And there was a rumor. And I was thinking, so where does it come from? Where do all the deists and all the things that we know? I became very sensitive to that. And you know what I realized? I talk a lot of baloney. I'm no better than anybody. Most of what I say is factually not accurate. It's inaccurate. I can't really back it up. It's like anything that I happen to hear, that's the truth. You know, a friend is talking about something, right, by the pool, that becomes the emes, right? I know that they don't this or they have that or this. It becomes fact. Why? Right? So I started being very sensitive to that because I see the damage to myself. I see the damage to other people. Right? The damage that happens, it's repeated, and by the time it's repeated already, 5, 6 carriers that pass it on, it's fact, it's yadua, everybody knows, everybody knows. Why? Because you heard it in the mikveh and passed it on from the guy, you heard it it's all baloney. And if you really get sensitive about it, just try to make believe that everything that comes out of your mouth and everything that you hear other people say, have like a sensor. Just like, what?
It's called a filter.
A filter. Put in a filter, not for your water, not for your cell phone. Put a filter and just get sensitive. Is this true? Right? Is this true? People comment on shidduchim. They comment on people and they don't know anything about people. Right? Mamish impossible to know. Why did he this and how come he that? We don't know. You just try as much as you can to work on that. I think it's the best skula for all good things. Besides for the lashon hara, the rechilas, and all of that, just to be honest people. Because you see people that they're honest, good, stand-up people. They wouldn't steal. But they ruin lives by just repeating information that has no basis of emes at all. And the more I see this, I became very quiet. You know, I'm just listening to a lot of people. I have nothing to say anymore because there's really very few things that I could say are really true. You know, if you ask me, I could say now it's night. That's about it. What else can I possibly say? Any comment on anybody else? Or why did somebody move? You ever hear that? Why did he move? Oh, you know, he moved. He probably. Who says? There was somebody that told me I happen to be, I don't have time to gossip, so I'm lucky that I'm really saved from a lot of gossip, and that doesn't interest me. Right? But still, I'm human, I'm around, I hear things, right? So this person said there was a chas and kala, they got divorced like within 2-3 days. It was a wreck. What happened? So he said, and totally 100% blamed the chassan. That's what he told me. I was thinking to myself, there's only 2 people that could possibly know if that thing that happened is true. The chassan and the kala. Now, it happens to be that you heard from the kala side that the chassan is 100% wrong. That happens to be your source. Not mamish from the kala side either. From the kala's aunt. The kala's aunt didn't hear it directly, but she heard from her sister-in-law, whose mother-in-law told her in Canada that she heard from the shneir in California, that what happened was they mamish said it was 100% the chassan's fault. And I was thinking about it. Who would know? The only person that would know is the chassan kala. And isn't it interesting that the kala, of course the kala thinks that it's the chassan's fault, and maybe it was, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe the reason was that the chassan left because the kala is a maniac and she makes stuff up like this. So how do you take a boy and his whole family and do kares and spread, and how do you carry it? And you're going to say, I didn't throw the guy out. I just carried the information. We're a carrier of a disease. We're carrying information that destroys lives. We're carriers. And I'm a carrier for sure. And just so let's get more sensitive. Let's think about it. Is it true? When you hear somebody talking, just say like, how do you know? How do you know? Do you really know why they, and how come they moved, and they this, and they that? Kid changed his school, must be because of that. Probably slow. Everything is made up. How much of the stuff that we talk about is totally made up? And as a serious, honest, trustworthy person, it's below us. It's beneath us to be like that. Forget about the halacha. Just it's beneath us. If we say something, it should be because we know it's true. If we listen to something, if we let somebody tell us something, we should say, hang on. I want to know if it's true. Don't tell me ideas and myths and concepts and dreams and chaloimis of why somebody did something, and usually it's always painting people in a negative way. Very rare that the stuff that's made up is positive. Very rare. It's always a negative something. It comes from somewhere, and nobody even knows where it comes, and there's nobody to blame. But it's all our fault.